All right, foodies and natural lifestyle gurus, put down that artisan sandwich. I'm serious. Place the bread on the table and slowly back away. No sudden movements. We're just going to talk about your dinner. You think the supermarket is a food store? Oh, honey, no. It's a showroom for the chemical industry and a masterclass in marketing hypnosis. We've been trained to believe that if a label has a picture of a smiling grandma or a cartoon cow doing yoga, the product inside was made with love. In reality, it was made with a level of cynicism that would make a Las Vegas casino owner blush. Today, we're going to rip the masks off 50 products pretending to be food. Prepare yourselves. It's about to get painful, funny, and you'll probably feel a little hungry. Or maybe not. Fact first. Mechanically separated meat, MSM, the pink slime in your sausages. You look at those cheap hot dogs and chicken nuggets, thinking you've scored a bargain for the kids' party. You imagine it's just, meat that's been minced. The truth is far more gruesome. MSM is what happens when they take animal carcasses, already stripped of all decent meat, and blast them with a high-pressure jet against a metal screen. It's the industrial equivalent of power washing a skeleton. This process creates a paste, get this, made of leftover muscle, connective tissue, skin, and even bone marrow. That lovely pink hue in your sausage isn't prime pork. It's a slurry of biological odds and ends, pumped full of chemicals to stop it from looking like the gray gunk it truly is. Essentially, you're eating a meat-flavored paste that has more in common with industrial spackle than an actual animal. It's less a food and more a cry for help from the food processing industry. Gordon Ramsay wouldn't just call you an idiot sandwich, he'd have you committed. Fact second. The pink color of ham, a chemical makeover. You see that beautiful, healthy pink ham in the deli counter, and think of a happy piglet frolicking in a field. Stop right there. Cooked meat is supposed to be gray, always. That's just science. So why is your breakfast ham as pink as Barbie's dream car? The secret ingredient is sodium nitrite, E250. This chemical is added to fix the color, preventing the meat from turning its natural, unappetizing shade of brownish gray after cooking. It's essentially makeup for meat. The producers know you wouldn't buy a slice of gray, sad-looking pork, so they give it a chemical spray tan to look fresh and appealing. So when you make a ham and cheese sandwich, you're not eating farm-fresh goodness. You are eating a carefully embalmed piece of flesh, whose color is a complete and utter lie, designed to trick your brain. It's the ultimate catfish, sitting right there in your fridge. Delicious, isn't it? Fact third. Smoke flavoring. Your barbecue chips never saw a fire. That irresistible smoky bacon flavor in your crisps? Or the hickory smoked label on your cheese? You probably picture a rustic smokehouse, with logs crackling merrily. Oh please, your snack was never within 100 miles of an actual wisp of smoke. Instead, it was given a quick spritz of liquid smoke. This magical elixir is made by burning wood chips, capturing the smoke in water, and concentrating it into a potent, tar-like liquid. It's the cheapest, dirtiest shortcut in the book. A few drops of this stuff, seriously, can flavor a whole vat of processed food, giving it that authentic campfire taste. It's the culinary equivalent of buying a fake designer handbag in a back alley. It looks the part from a distance, but up close, it just smells of chemicals and desperation. You're not tasting the great outdoors. You're tasting a chemistry lab's best guess. Fact fourth. The extra water in your chicken, paying for saline implants. You buy a plump, frozen chicken, impressed by its hefty weight. You think you're getting more bird for your buck. Think again. That chicken has been given the equivalent of cosmetic surgery. Before freezing, poultry is often plumped or enhanced by injecting it with a solution of salt water and phosphates. Why? The salt makes the muscle tissue absorb a ridiculous amount of water, and the phosphates lock it in. This can increase the chicken's total weight by up to 30%. You're literally paying premium meat prices for cheap tap water. When you cook it, all that extra liquid either steams away, leaving you with a shrunken, sad-looking bird, or turns your roasting pan into a lukewarm swimming pool. This isn't a chicken, it's an edible water balloon. The manufacturers are selling you water at the price of poultry, and you're thanking them for the juicy result. The sheer audacity is almost impressive. Fact fifth, ham from scraps, the meat jigsaw puzzle. That perfectly oval, uniform slice of deli ham looks like it came from a single noble piece of pork. It's a lie. Many types of ham and other deli meats are not whole cuts. They are, in fact, frankenmeats. Manufacturers take a collection of cheap miscellaneous meat scraps, trimmings, offcuts, bits that fell on the floor, probably, and essentially glue them together. The magic glue is a mixture of water, phosphates, and other additives that bind the random chunks into a single cohesive block. This meaty log is then pressed into a mold to give it that familiar, appetizing shape. You're not eating a slice of ham. You're eating a mosaic of reassembled pork rejects. It's the Lego set of the meat world, where the final creation vaguely resembles the picture on the box, but you know deep down is just a bunch of cheap parts stuck together. Fact sixth, chicken nuggets, the 50% mystery meat. You hand your child a box of chicken nuggets from a fast food joint, feeling like a decent parent. It's chicken, right? Protein! Well, only partly. An investigation into the contents of typical fast food nuggets found that they can contain less than 50% actual chicken breast meat. The other 50%? Hold on to your stomach. It's a thrilling cocktail of ground-up chicken skin, fat, blood vessels, nerves, and even pulverized bone. This mixture is then blended into a paste, seasoned with a metric ton of sodium and artificial flavors, shaped into those cutesy little boots and balls, and deep-fried. So, you're not feeding your kid chicken. You're feeding them a heavily processed, deep-fried nugget of industrial waste that has been cleverly disguised as a kid-friendly meal. It's like putting lipstick on a pig, except the pig has been through a wood chipper first. Fact seventh, sausage casings, not your grandma's intestines. There was a time when sausages were lovingly stuffed into natural casings, which are cleaned animal intestines. Quaint, right? But that's expensive and, frankly, a bit too real for modern food production. Today, the casing on your sausage is more likely an engineering marvel than a part of an animal. Most modern sausages are squeezed into artificial casings made from things like cellulose, which is basically paper pulp, or polyamide, which is a type of plastic. Yes, plastic. There are also edible collagen casings, which are made by processing the hides and bones of cows and pigs. So, when you bite into that hot dog with a satisfying snap, you're not experiencing freshness. You're experiencing the sound of heavily processed cowhide, or, in some cases, a material that's one step away from being a sandwich bag. It's a miracle of science, just not the delicious kind. Fact eighth, cheese that isn't cheese, the great dairy deception. If the package says cheese product or cheese food, you need to stop and ask yourself what crime was committed against actual cheese to create this imposter. In the US, for a product to be legally called cheese, it must be made from at least 51% real cheese. So what's in the other 49% of that perfectly square, individually wrapped slice? Oh, just the delightful blend of whey protein concentrate, milk protein concentrate, cheap vegetable oils, hello palm oil, emulsifiers, and a whole lot of salt and artificial coloring. These slices melt so perfectly on your burger because they are scientifically designed to do so. They're not cheese, they're an edible science project engineered for ultimate convenience and shelf life. Trying to light one on fire is a fun party trick. It doesn't melt, it just burns and smells like melting plastic. You're eating a cheese impersonator. Fact ninth, shiny apples, fruit with a coat of varnish. You pick up a gleaming, flawless apple at the supermarket. It shines so brightly you can see your reflection in it. You think, wow, this is the peak of freshness. Wrong. That shine is a lie. Apples naturally produce their own waxy coating, but it's washed off during the industrial cleaning process. To make them look pretty again, and, more importantly, to give them a freakishly long shelf life, they are sprayed with a layer of commercial wax. This can be carnauba wax from a palm tree, candelilla wax from a desert shrub, or shellac. And what is shellac, you ask? It's a resin secreted by the female lac bug. That's right, You're eating a varnish made from bug secretions to make your fruit look unnaturally glossy. It's basically lip gloss for apples, and you're paying for it. Always wash that shine off with a brush, unless you enjoy the taste of polished insects. Fact 10th. Banana gas, the ripening trick. Ever wonder how bananas from Ecuador arrive in your local Tesco or Walmart perfectly yellow, with no mushy brown spots? Magic? No, it's chemistry. Bananas are harvested when they are rock hard and bright green. They're then shipped in temperature-controlled containers in a state of suspended animation. Once they reach their destination country, they're taken to a special ripening room. There, the unripe bananas are blasted with ethylene gas. This gas, seriously, a gas, is a plant hormone that triggers the ripening process, turning them from green to yellow in a matter of days. You're not buying a naturally ripened, sun-kissed fruit. You're buying a piece of fruit that was chemically shocked into maturity in a dark warehouse. It's the botanical equivalent of waking someone up from a coma with an air horn. It gets the job done, but something about the soul is just missing. Fact 11th. Reconstituted milk, the just add water dairy miracle. You see that carton of milk with a picture of a lush green pasture and think, ah, farm fresh goodness, especially in the middle of winter. The reality is that your milk may have begun its life as a pile of anonymous white dust in a giant sack. When fresh milk supply is low, many dairies turn to reconstituted milk. This means they take milk powder, which is just dehydrated milk solids, and rehydrate it with water to turn it back into a liquid that vaguely resembles milk. It's the sea monkeys of the dairy aisle. They suck all the life out of it for transport and storage, then just add water and hope you don't notice the faint taste of despair and industrial processing. It's nutritionally inferior and, let's be honest, an insult to every self-respecting cow on the planet. You're not drinking milk, you're drinking a ghost of milk that's been resurrected in a factory vat. Cheers. Fact 12th. Bright orange egg yolks, a coloring book for chickens. You crack an egg and see a deep, vibrant orange yolk. That's a happy, healthy, free-range chicken, you exclaim, feeling smug about your superior shopping choices. Calm down. You've been duped by a simple coloring trick. The color of a yolk is determined entirely by a hen's diet. So what do the factory farms do? They manipulate it. To get that rich, sunset orange color that consumers associate with quality, they add carotenoids to the chicken feed. These can come from marigold petals or paprika, or, more often, they're synthetic pigments like canthaxanthin. The chickens are basically eating a food dye supplement. There's literally a commercial color chart, like the kind you'd use to pick paint for your living room, that farmers use to select the perfect yolk shade. You're not buying a better egg. You're buying an egg that's had an internal paint job. Fact 13th. Gummy bears, a slaughterhouse's sweet revenge. Who doesn't love a cute little gummy bear? They're chewy, sweet, and shaped like an adorable woodland creature. It's the perfect harmless treat for your kids. Except its origin story is anything but cute. The bouncy, jiggly texture of most gummy sweets comes from gelatin. And what, pray tell, is gelatin? It's a protein produced by boiling the skin, tendons, ligaments, and, yes, really, bones of pigs and cows. It's the literal boiled-down leftovers from the meat industry's cutting room floor. The bits nobody wants are sent to a rendering plant, cooked into a flavorless jelly, dried, and then sold to confectioners. They then add sugar, color, and flavor to turn this macabre paste into a smiling bear. You're not eating a sweet. You're eating a highly processed boneyard that's been given a candy coating. Suddenly not so appetizing, is it? Fact 14th. Pistachio ice cream, an almond in a green tuxedo. You order a scoop of pistachio ice cream, thinking you've chosen a sophisticated, nutty, and subtly luxurious flavor. You savor that bright green color and distinct taste. Well, I hate to break it to you, but you're probably eating a cheap almond-flavored imposter. Real pistachios are expensive. Almonds are cheap. So many budget ice cream makers use almond paste as the flavor base, which can be chemically tweaked to mimic a pistachio taste. And that vibrant green hue? That's not from nuts, it's from food coloring. Usually a cocktail of blue number 1 and yellow number 5, designed to scream pistachio at you. You're eating a lie. It's vanilla or almond ice cream that's been dragged through a makeup counter and given a spritz of fake nut perfume. It's the flavor equivalent of a guy who stuffs a sock down his pants. All show, no substance. Fact 15th. Aerated chocolate. You're paying for bubbles. You pick up a bar of bubbly or whipped chocolate. It feels so light and airy, and the texture is a fun novelty. What you're actually holding is one of the most brilliant marketing scams in the confectionery world. This chocolate is made by putting regular chocolate into a vacuum chamber, which causes the tiny air pockets inside to expand, creating that bubbly texture. The result is a chocolate bar that takes up the same amount of space but contains significantly less actual chocolate. You are paying the full price, sometimes even a premium, for a product that has been inflated with literal, worthless air. It's like buying a bag of crisps that's 90% nitrogen, except here, the air is the main feature. You're not buying a special treat, you're buying a chocolate-flavored sponge. The manufacturers have figured out how to sell you nothing and make you think it's innovative. Fact 16th. The Fresh Supermarket Bakery, a masterpiece of theater. You walk into a supermarket and you're hit with that intoxicating aroma of freshly baked bread. You see bakers in white hats pulling golden brown baguettes from a giant oven. It feels so wholesome, so artisanal. It's a complete illusion. That bakery is a stage, and the employees are actors. In most cases, the baking they do on site is just the final step of a long industrial process. The bread, cookies, and pastries arrive at the store as frozen, pre-made, par-baked lumps of dough from a central factory. The in-store bakers, who are really just oven operators, simply thaw them and pop them in the oven to brown them off. That delicious smell is a calculated marketing ploy to make you feel cozy and hungry. You're not buying fresh bread. You're buying a reheated factory product that's been cleverly disguised to look and smell like the real thing. Fact 17th. Energy drinks. Carbonated hysteria in a can. You're feeling tired, so you grab an energy drink with a cool name like Venom or Full Throttle. The can is covered in promises of extreme focus and enhanced performance, listing exotic ingredients like taurine, guarana, and ginseng. You drink it and feel a surge of power. Here's the secret. All that fancy stuff is just window dressing. The actual energy you feel is a crude, brutal kick from two main ingredients: an obscene amount of sugar and a caffeine dose equivalent to several cups of strong coffee. That's it. It's not a high-tech performance fuel, it's a panic attack in a can. The rush is your body's stress response to being flooded with stimulants and sugar, and it's always followed by a spectacular crash. You're not unleashing the beast, you're just chemically tasering your nervous system into submission. Fact 18th. Cheap sparkling wine, a soda stream for sad grapes. You want to celebrate, but you're on a budget. So you grab a bottle of cheap bubbly. It looks festive, the cork pops, and it has fizz. Close enough to champagne, right? Oh, so wrong. The bubbles in real champagne are the result of a long, expensive, natural second fermentation process inside the bottle. The bubbles in that 5-pound bottle of fizz? They were almost certainly injected into flat, boring white wine from a giant carbon dioxide tank. It's literally the same process used to make a can of soda. You're not drinking a budget version of a luxury product. You are drinking, let's be blunt, wine-flavored soda. It's cheap plonk that's been given a fake personality with the help of an industrial gas canister. It's the beverage equivalent of putting spinning rims on a Reliant Robin. It doesn't make it cool, it just makes the deception more obvious. Fact 19th. Canned tuna, the ocean's heavy metal sponge. You're on a health kick, so you stock your pantry with canned tuna. It's pure protein, low in fat, and super convenient. You're a fitness genius. But there's a dirty secret hiding in that can. Tuna is a predatory fish, meaning it spends its life eating smaller fish. The problem is, those smaller fish have small amounts of mercury in their bodies from ocean pollution. As the tuna eats them, that mercury builds up, or bioaccumulates, in its own flesh. So, by the time that big tuna is caught and canned, it has become a concentrated little brick of mercury. While a can here and there is fine, if you're eating it every day on your sad little diet salad, you're steadily dosing yourself with a heavy metal. It's not the clean food you think it is. It's more like the ocean's filter, and you're eating what it caught. Fact 20th. Spice blends. You're buying overpriced salt. You want to cook something flavorful, so you buy a pre-made spice mix labeled for chicken or Cajun seasoning. It seems so convenient, a perfect blend of exotic herbs and spices crafted by experts. Now, pick it up and read the ingredients list. What's the very first word you see? I'll bet you a $5 it's salt. Salt is the cheapest, heaviest filler ingredient on the planet, and these companies pack their special blends with it. You might be paying £3 for a small jar that is, no exaggeration, over 50% plain old table salt with a light dusting of paprika and onion powder for color. You think you're buying a secret recipe to make your food taste amazing. What you're actually buying is a tiny amount of spice in a giant box of the cheapest mineral known to man. It's a total ripoff, and your steak isn't impressed. Fact 21st. Processed ham slices, meat-themed sponges. You buy a pack of those perfectly round, unnervingly uniform slices of ham for your sandwiches. They're so convenient, aren't they? The truth is that ham is the result of a process that values efficiency over actual edibility. It starts with low-grade pork trimmings, which are minced and then tumbled in a giant industrial machine with water, salt, phosphates, and various flavor enhancers. The phosphates are key, this is the genius part, as they allow the meat slurry to absorb and hold an absurd amount of water. This watery meat paste is then squeezed into a plastic casing and cooked. The final product is a bouncy, wet log of what is legally, but not spiritually, ham. You're not eating slices from a whole cut of pork. You're eating a waterlogged meat sponge that has been chemically engineered to slice neatly and sit sadly in your lunchbox. It's the culinary equivalent of an inflatable friend. Fact 22nd. Non-dairy creamer, a chemical snowstorm. You're out of milk, so you reach for the non-dairy creamer. It's white, it dissolves in your coffee, and it says non-dairy, so it must be a healthy, modern alternative, right? Let's look at the ingredients. The main components are typically corn syrup solids, sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oil, trans fat, and a bunch of chemical emulsifiers and stabilizers like sodium caseinate. Wait, sodium caseinate? That's a protein derived from milk. So it's not even dairy-free. It's a Frankenstein's monster of cheap fats and sugars, whipped into a powder that has the nutritional value of sawdust. It doesn't go bad because, and this is the kicker, there's nothing in it that was ever truly alive to begin with. You're not adding a creamy alternative to your coffee. You're adding a scoop of flammable, chemically whitened sludge. You'd be better off just using chalk dust. Fact 23rd. Figs, not a vegan-friendly fruit. You're living that plant-based life, feeling pure and ethical as you snack on a delicious, natural fig. Well, I have some news that might disrupt your moral high ground. Many varieties of figs have a very special relationship with a creature called the fig wasp. It's a process called mutualism. The female wasp crawls inside the fig to lay her eggs, and in the process, she pollinates it. But here's the catch. The entrance is a one-way street. She gets trapped inside and dies. The fig then releases an enzyme called phycin, which completely digests the wasp's body, breaking it down into protein. So, when you bite into that sweet, chewy fig, you are also, technically, eating the dissolved corpse of an insect. There are no tiny legs or wings in there, just the absorbed essence of a bug. It's a beautiful, brutal part of nature's life cycle that most vegans would rather not think about. Fact 24th. Iceberg lettuce. Crunchy water with no personality. You make a big, healthy salad, and the base is a pile of crisp, crunchy iceberg lettuce. It looks fresh, it adds bulk, and it has a satisfying crunch. Perfect. The problem is, iceberg lettuce is the nutritional equivalent of a ghost. It is almost entirely water, around 96%, with barely any vitamins, minerals, or fiber to its name. It's basically just a crunchy, boat-shaped water delivery system. Salads made with darker greens like spinach or romaine are packed with nutrients, but iceberg brings almost nothing to the party. It's the salad green for people who secretly hate vegetables. You're filling your bowl with a vegetable that has the personality of a cardboard box and the nutritional profile of an ice cube. You're not eating your greens, you're just chewing on solidified hydration. It's a trick you play on yourself to feel healthy. Fact 25th. Canned green beans, the color of deception. You open a can of green beans and they're a vibrant, almost electric green. They look so much fresher than the dull, olive-colored ones you cook yourself. How do they do it? The canning process, which involves high heat, should destroy the chlorophyll and turn the beans a drab color. To counteract this, some manufacturers get creative. While the practice is banned in some countries, in others, they might add artificial colorings to keep the beans looking perky and alive. For example, the food dye known as Brilliant Green S, E142, can be used. Other times, and this is just as sneaky, they add firming agents to keep the texture from turning to mush. You think you're eating a conveniently preserved vegetable, but you're actually eating a recolored, chemically propped up vegetable corpse that's been sitting in a tin can for 2 years. Fact 26th. Decaffeinated coffee, a liar's brew. You love the taste of coffee, but you're trying to cut back on caffeine. So you switch to decaf, feeling virtuous and calm. You should know that decaffeinated does not mean caffeine-free. Not even close. It's impossible to remove 100% of the caffeine from a coffee bean. The process, which often involves soaking the beans in chemical solvents like methylene chloride or ethyl acetate, only removes about 97% of it. That means a cup of decaf still contains a small but noticeable amount of caffeine. If you drink several cups throughout the day, you could easily be consuming the same amount of caffeine as is in a can of Coke. It's not a zero caffeine option. It's a low caffeine option that's marketed as a solution. You've just switched from a sledgehammer to a small, persistent hammer, but you're still hitting the same nail. Fact 27th. Ginger ale, the ghost of ginger past. You've got an upset stomach, so you reach for a can of ginger ale. It's what your mom always gave you, a gentle, fizzy remedy. The label has pictures of ginger root, and the name itself is ginger ale. It must be full of real ginger, right? Wrong. The vast majority of mainstream ginger ales on the market contain zero, and I mean zero, zilch, nada, actual ginger. That spicy, warm flavor is created entirely with artificial ginger flavor from a lab. It's a chemical cocktail designed to trick your taste buds. The drink is basically just sugar water, carbonation, and caramel color, with a spritz of fake flavor. It might make you feel better because it's a sweet, comforting placebo, but it has no more medicinal properties than a glass of lemonade. You're drinking a soda that's wearing a ginger costume for Halloween. Fact 28th. Nut spreads, a jar of sugar and palm oil. You spread a thick layer of chocolate hazelnut spread on your toast, thinking of it as a nutty, protein-rich treat. Or you make a peanut butter sandwich and feel good about your wholesome lunch choice. Now, let's be brutally honest and look at the ingredients label. In many popular chocolate nut spreads, the first ingredient is sugar and the second is palm oil. The actual hazelnuts make up a tiny fraction, maybe 13%. You're essentially eating a candy bar in spreadable form. As for peanut butter, the cheap versions are often loaded with added sugar, hydrogenated oils, trans fats, and salt to make them smooth and shelf-stable. You think you're eating nuts, but you're actually eating a cleverly disguised vehicle for delivering cheap sugar and fat directly into your system. It's not a health food, it's dessert masquerading as a sandwich filling. Fact 29th. Ultra-pasteurized milk, the immortal zombie milk. You see milk in a carton that doesn't need to be refrigerated and has an expiry date 6 months in the future. What kind of black magic is this? It's called ultra-high temperature, UHT, pasteurization. The milk is heated to an insanely high temperature, around 140 degrees Celsius or 284 degrees Fahrenheit, for a few seconds, which kills absolutely everything in it. Not just the bad bacteria, but the good bacteria, the enzymes, the vitamins, everything. The process essentially sterilizes the milk, rendering it a lifeless white liquid that can survive the apocalypse. It's so heavily processed that its protein structure is altered, giving it a slightly cooked or burnt taste. You're not drinking fresh milk, you're drinking a shelf-stable dairy product that has had every trace of life violently boiled out of it. It's the milk equivalent of a mummy, perfectly preserved, but all the soul is long gone. Fact 30th. Reduced fat yogurt, the sugar bomb disguise. You're trying to be healthy, so you grab a pot of low-fat or fat-free yogurt. You're avoiding fat, so you must be winning at dieting. This is the oldest trick in the book. When manufacturers remove the fat from a food product, they also remove most of the flavor and the satisfying texture. To make it taste like something other than chalky paste, they have to compensate. And how do they do that? They dump in a massive amount of sugar or high fructose corn syrup or artificial sweeteners and chemical thickeners. You end up with a product that has fewer fat calories but is loaded with sugar, which is arguably worse for you. You've just traded one villain for another, more insidious one. You think you're eating a health food, but you're actually eating a sugar-laden dessert that's been cleverly marketed as a diet product. It's a Trojan horse made of disappointment. Fact 31st. Winter tomatoes, red spheres of sadness. You buy a bright red tomato in the middle of January, thinking you can get a taste of summer. It looks like a tomato, it feels like a tomato, but when you bite into it, you're met with a mouthful of crunchy, flavorless water. What went wrong? That tomato was a fraud from the start. To get them to supermarkets in the dead of winter, they are picked on the vine when they are still rock-hard and completely green. They are then transported, and just before they hit the shelves, they are gassed with ethylene, the same trick used on bananas, to force them to turn red. The gas triggers the color change, but it does absolutely nothing for the flavor or the texture, which only develop when a tomato ripens naturally in the sun. You're not eating a fruit, you're eating a beautiful, red lie. It's a supermodel with the personality of a brick. All looks, zero substance. Fact 32nd. Shellac on candy, the shiny beetle varnish. You grab a handful of shiny, candy-coated chocolates or jelly beans. That hard, glossy shell is so satisfyingly crunchy. Ever wondered what gives them that perfect, durable shine? It's a substance called shellac, also known as confectioner's glaze or E904 on the ingredients list. And shellac is a resin secreted by the female lac bug, found in the forests of India and Thailand. To harvest it, workers scrape the resin, along with bits of bark and bug parts, from the trees. This raw material is then processed and purified to create the food-grade glaze that coats your favorite sweets. So when you're eating that handful of shiny candy, you are crunching on a layer of refined bug secretions. It's the same substance used to varnish furniture and make nail polish. You're not just eating candy, you're eating a tiny piece of industrial hardware with a sweet center. Fact 33rd. Brightly colored dried fruit, a sulfur dioxide bath. You buy a bag of bright orange dried apricots or golden raisins, thinking you've chosen a healthy, natural snack. They look so vibrant and juicy, a perfect burst of sunshine. The truth is, naturally dried fruit is supposed to be a shriveled, brown, and rather ugly thing. To get that appealing, bright color and to prevent them from spoiling, producers treat them with a preservative called sulfur dioxide, E220. The fruit is literally, and I'm not joking, gassed with it. This chemical bath bleaches the fruit, stops it from browning, and kills off any mold or bacteria. So that beautiful orange color isn't a sign of freshness, it's a sign of a heavy chemical intervention. You're eating fruit that has been embalmed to look pretty for its journey to your lunchbox. The truly natural stuff is hiding on the shelf, looking sad and brown, waiting for someone who knows the dirty secret. Fact 34th. Whipped cream in a can, a fluffy chemical cloud. You want to top your dessert with a swirl of whipped cream. You grab a can, press the nozzle, and out comes a perfect, fluffy cloud of white sweetness. It's so easy. But that's not cream, not really. Real whipped cream is just heavy cream, whipped until it's light and airy. The stuff in that can? It's an engineering marvel of food science. It's often made from cheap vegetable oils, like palm or coconut oil, mixed with water, sugar, emulsifiers to hold it all together, and artificial flavors to mimic the taste of dairy. The magic fluff comes from nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas, which is used as a propellant. When you press the nozzle, the gas expands and forces the oily slurry out, creating a foam. You're not eating whipped cream. You're eating a stabilized oil foam that's been inflated with dentist gas. Fact 35th. Fresh orange juice, the perfumed imposter. You buy a carton of orange juice that proudly proclaims 100% pure and natural, and not from concentrate. It tastes exactly the same every single time you buy it, which you take as a sign of quality. It's actually a sign of extreme industrial processing. To ensure a year-round supply, juice companies strip the freshly squeezed juice of all its oxygen, a process called de-aeration, so it can be stored in gigantic million-gallon tanks for up to a year without spoiling. The problem? This process also removes all the natural flavor. The stuff in the tanks is a bland, lifeless liquid. So, just before bottling, the company hires flavor and fragrance firms, the same ones that design perfumes for Dior, to create flavor packs. These are chemically engineered cocktails of orange essences and oils that are added back into the juice to make it taste like oranges again. You're drinking year-old zombie juice that's been spritzed with orange perfume. Fact 36th. Artificially flavored banana candy, a taste of extinction. Ever notice that banana-flavored sweets like circus peanuts or runts taste nothing like the bananas you actually eat? You probably just assumed it was a bad, fake flavor. But there's a fascinating story behind it. That artificial flavor, isoamyl acetate, was created to mimic the taste of a variety of banana called the Gros Michel. This was the main banana sold worldwide until the 1950s, when a fungal plague wiped it almost completely off the face of the earth. The bananas we eat today are a different variety, the Cavendish, which has a milder, less intense flavor. So that fake banana taste isn't a bad imitation. It's a chemically perfect, and now haunting, recreation of a ghost. You're not tasting a fake banana. You're tasting the flavor of a fruit that is commercially extinct. Fact 37th. Fortified cereals, a vitamin pill and a bowl of sugar. You feed your kids a brightly colored box of cereal that boasts it's fortified with 10 essential vitamins and minerals. You feel like a responsible parent providing a nutritious start to the day. This is one of the greatest marketing cons of all time. The cereal itself is often made from refined grains that are processed so heavily, puffed, flaked, shredded, that any natural nutrients they once had are completely obliterated. To make up for this, the manufacturers then spray a coating of synthetic, lab-created vitamins and minerals back onto the finished product. And what is the main ingredient holding it all together? Sugar. Lots and lots of sugar. You're not giving your kids a healthy breakfast. You're giving them a bowl of sugar-coated carbs that has been sprayed with a cheap multivitamin. It's junk food wearing a health halo. Fact 38th. Freshly squeezed juice in cafes, the pre-bottled lie. You're at a cafe and you order a freshly squeezed orange juice for a premium price. You watch as the barista pours it from a carton into a glass, maybe adds a slice of orange for garnish, and hands it to you. You've just been scammed. In many places, freshly squeezed simply means it's not from concentrate. The juice was likely squeezed in a factory months ago, and then pasteurized and bottled before being shipped to the cafe. It's no fresher than the stuff you buy in the supermarket, but they charge you double for the privilege of having someone else open the carton. Unless you physically see them put the oranges into the juicer right in front of your eyes, you're not getting what you paid for. You're just paying for the illusion of freshness, which, it turns out, is very profitable. Fact 39th. The Dirty Dozen, your pesticide-soaked produce. You buy a beautiful bunch of strawberries or a bag of fresh spinach, feeling healthy and virtuous. But you might be getting more than you bargained for. Each year, the Environmental Working Group releases a list called the Dirty Dozen, which identifies the fruits and vegetables with the highest levels of pesticide residue. Year after year, things like strawberries, spinach, kale, and apples top the list. These crops have soft skins and are heavily sprayed, meaning they absorb and retain a cocktail of chemicals. Even washing them doesn't remove everything. So while you're trying to get your 5 a day, you're also getting a microdose of fungicides and insecticides. You're not just eating a strawberry, you're eating the ghost of every chemical that was ever sprayed on it. Delicious. Fact 40th. Salad dressing, a bottle of fat and sugar. You've made a beautiful, healthy salad full of fresh greens and vegetables, and then you drown it in a creamy, store-bought dressing. You've just turned your health food into junk food. Take a look at the label on that bottle of ranch or Caesar dressing. The first ingredient is often vegetable oil or water, followed closely by sugar or high-fructose corn syrup. A single 2 tablespoon serving can contain more fat and sugar than a donut. Even the light or fat-free versions are traps. They just replace the fat with even more sugar, salt, and a host of chemical thickeners and emulsifiers to mimic a creamy texture. You didn't make your salad tastier, you just poured a candy bar all over it. You would have been better off just eating the croutons and calling it a day. Fact 41st. Processed cheese slices, the edible plastic wrap. You unwrap a perfect, floppy square of American cheese to melt on a burger. It's a nostalgic taste of childhood. But let's call it what it is. This isn't cheese. It's a pasteurized, prepared cheese product. To earn that glorious title, it only needs to contain 51% actual cheese. The other 49% is a bizarre medley of milk proteins, excess whey, water, salt, food coloring, and emulsifying agents like sodium citrate. These emulsifiers are the secret sauce. They're chemical crowbars that force the oil and water to stay together, resulting in that uncanny, perfect melt without splitting into a greasy mess. It's a product of pure chemistry, designed not for flavor or nutrition, but for flawless performance under heat. You're eating the dairy equivalent of a B-movie actor, looks the part, has no depth, and melts on cue. It's a food impersonator, and it's laughing at you from inside your grilled cheese. Fact 42nd. Maraschino cherries, the chemically lobotomized fruit. You see that bright neon red cherry sitting atop your cocktail or ice cream sundae? It looks so cheerful, so perfectly artificial. And you are absolutely right. A maraschino cherry has been through a process so brutal it barely qualifies as a fruit anymore. First, the cherries are bleached in a bath of calcium chloride and sulfur dioxide until they are completely colorless and flavorless, a blank, soulless canvas. Then, they are marinated for weeks in a vat of high-fructose corn syrup and food coloring, typically red number 40, to give them that iconic radioactive glow. Finally, a little bit of almond flavoring is added because the original cherry taste was chemically exorcised in step 1. You're not eating a cherry. You're eating a zombie cherry that has been bleached, dyed, and embalmed in sugar. It's a fruit that's been sent to a re-education camp and came back with a new, much brighter personality. Fact 43rd. Bottled water, the world's most successful scam. You buy a bottle of water with a picture of a pristine mountain spring on the label, thinking you're sipping pure, untouched nature. The marketing has worked. Now look at the small print. If it says, from a municipal source, or from a community water system, you've just paid £1.50 for filtered tap water. Seriously. Companies like Dasani and Aquafina are famous for this. It's their entire business model. They take the same water that flows into your home, run it through a multi-step filtration process called reverse osmosis, maybe add a pinch of minerals back in for taste, and then sell it back to you at a 2,000% markup. It's the most genius business plan in human history, selling people something they already get for practically free. You're not buying mountain spring water, You're buying the contents of a fire hydrant in a fancier outfit. Fact 44th. Honey in a bear bottle, a syrup in disguise. You squeeze a cute bear-shaped bottle of honey into your tea, thinking you're adding a touch of natural sweetness. The problem is, a huge portion of the honey sold in supermarkets isn't what the bees intended. Much of it undergoes a process called ultrafiltration, which heats the honey and forces it through microscopic filters. This removes all the pollen. Why? Two reasons. First, it gives the honey a long shelf life and keeps it from crystallizing, which consumers wrongly see as a flaw. Second, and this is the shady part, removing the pollen makes it impossible to trace the honey's country of origin. This allows manufacturers to flood the market with cheap, low-quality honey from China, which is often bulked up with undeclared cheap sweeteners like corn or rice syrup. You think you're eating honey, you're actually eating a laundered, anonymous sugar syrup. Fact 45th. Ground coffee, the cockroach co-op. You buy pre-ground coffee because grinding your own beans is just too much effort in the morning. I get it, but you should know about the unlisted ingredient. Large-scale coffee bean storage facilities are notoriously difficult to keep completely pest-free. Cockroaches and other insects love to hang out in the giant piles of beans. When it's time for grinding, it's practically impossible to separate all the bugs from the beans. So, they just get roasted and ground up right along with them. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, actually has an official allowance for a certain percentage of insect filth and insects in coffee beans. It's an accepted part of the process. So when you brew that cup of pre-ground coffee, you're always getting a little extra protein. If you want a bug-free cup, or at least a less buggy one, buy whole beans. You can see what you're grinding. Fact 46th. Wasabi, the horseradish imposter. You're at a sushi restaurant, dabbing a bit of that green paste on your roll for a sinus-clearing kick. You think you're experiencing an authentic Japanese delicacy. Prepare to be disappointed. In about 99% of cases, especially outside of Japan, the wasabi you're eating is not wasabi at all. It's a cheap paste made from horseradish, mustard powder, and green food coloring. Real wasabi comes from the root of the Wasabia japonica plant, which is incredibly difficult to grow and ridiculously expensive. We're talking over 200 pounds per kilogram. It has a more complex herbal flavor that fades within 15 minutes of being grated. The stuff on your plate is a low-budget stunt double. You're not eating a rare Japanese root. You're eating the same thing your granddad puts on his roast beef, just dyed green to look exotic. You've been had. Fact 47th. Maple syrup, the corn syrup pretender. You pour a thick amber syrup all over your pancakes, dreaming of Canadian forests and lumberjacks. Now look at the bottle. Does it say pancake syrup or breakfast syrup? If it doesn't explicitly say 100% pure maple syrup, you're eating a complete fraud. That stuff is a cheap concoction of corn syrup, water, cellulose gum for thickness, a whole lot of artificial coloring, caramel color E150D, and a synthetic flavoring agent called Sodalon to mimic the maple taste. Real maple syrup is made by boiling the sap from maple trees, a long and laborious process. The cheap stuff is made in a factory that in about an hour. You're not tasting the essence of a Canadian forest. You're tasting a chemical company's best attempt to impersonate it. The only tree that was involved in making your breakfast was the one that got turned into the paper for the label. Fact 48th. Truffle oil, the petroleum perfume. You see truffle fries on a menu for a ridiculous price, and you order them feeling fancy. That powerful, earthy aroma hits you, and you think you're tasting the height of luxury. You're not. The vast majority of truffle oil contains zero actual truffles. The flavor and aroma come from a synthetic chemical compound called 2,4-dithiapentane. It's an aromatic molecule that is one of the main components of a truffle's natural scent. But it's far cheaper to synthesize it in a lab, often from a petroleum base, than to extract it from a rare, expensive fungus. It's a one-note, overpowering chemical sledgehammer compared to the complex, delicate aroma of a real truffle. You're not paying a premium for a rare ingredient. You're paying a premium for a spritz of truffle-scented perfume made in a factory. It's the culinary equivalent of a fake Rolex. Fact 49th. The smoke point myth. Your olive oil is crying. You've heard that you shouldn't cook with extra virgin olive oil because it has a low smoke point. So you use it for salads and buy cheap vegetable oil for frying, thinking you're being a savvy cook. This is a half-truth that has been twisted by marketing. While it's true you shouldn't deep fry with expensive olive oil, its smoke point is actually high enough for most regular home cooking, like pan frying or sautéing. The real reason this myth is so popular is that the giant seed oil industry, canola, sunflower, soybean, has spent decades promoting their cheap, highly processed oils as the right choice for high-heat cooking. They created a problem that their product conveniently solves. You've been scared away from using a flavorful, healthier oil by a marketing campaign designed to sell you a bland, industrial substitute. Fact 50th. Live beer, a marketing gimmick. You're at a trendy pub and you see live or unpasteurized beer on the menu. It sounds so much healthier and more authentic, as if it's packed with beneficial probiotics like a yogurt. You order it, feeling like a true connoisseur. Calm down. Live beer simply means it hasn't been filtered or pasteurized to kill the yeast cells. While this does mean there are still active yeast cultures in your pint, their main job is done. They aren't going to magically improve your gut health. In fact, and this is the part they don't advertise, it just means the beer has a much shorter shelf life and can easily go off, developing weird flavors if it's not stored perfectly. The term live is a brilliant marketing tactic to make a simple, traditional brewing method sound like a modern health trend. You're not drinking a probiotic super drink, you're just drinking unfiltered beer. So, you're still here? Or have you locked yourself in the bathroom with a seed catalog, planning your new life off the grid? Your kitchen is now a crime scene, and every shelf is holding evidence. That weekly trip to the supermarket is no longer a simple chore. It's a special forces operation through a theater of deception. You'll now walk those aisles with the cynical eyes of a private detective, squinting at the fine print and treating every smiling mascot on a box like a paid liar. Yes, life just became more complicated. But look on the bright side. You're no longer the wide-eyed fool at the magic show, applauding the cheap tricks. You've seen behind the curtain. And it turns out the great and powerful wizard is just a chemist with a bulk discount on corn syrup. If your appetite for the truth still isn't satisfied, you know the drill. And from now on, remember the golden rule. If it seems too perfect to be natural, it was probably designed by a committee. Stay skeptical.